So great. So let's just have a focus on what happens after we've now initiated our patient on ARVs. And actually, the biggest work is when we monitor and follow them up over time. And monitoring has become very, very simple. Most of the things that we do in our visits are still the same as the guidelines through the ages. We do our basic looking for our weight. Remember screening for TB. And very important, we obviously do our symptom screening at each visit, but in the guideline already from 2023, it's recommended that we do a gene expert at every annual review. And I don't think this is always necessarily happening and definitely falling through the cracks. We obviously want to make sure their WHO clinical staging hasn't changed. We want to talk about pregnancy and contraception. We want to check if they're having any side effects or problems on the medicines. Very important, we want to integrate things like our other chronic condition care and cervical screening in those specific visits. For children, very important is making sure we plot them very carefully. And with children, in addition, we really need to make sure that as their weight increases, that we adjust the dosing of that medication. And remember, once they're over 10 years old and over 30 kilograms, will be able to switch them to TLD. With children, it's also important to check neurodevelopmentally how they are doing, and with our older teenagers, looking at things like their mental health as they go along. So here are some of the odd side effects one can keep an eye on. We have had these with us for ages. I think most people are very familiar with these different side effects. There's a nice table in the guidelines. And I think the important message is that the side effects are uncommon. Most patients take these treatments without noticing any problems whatsoever. So when we talk about monitoring, we're going to be counting when we monitor in something called dispensing cycles. And there's a little bit of a confusion sometimes when we talk about months of treatment and the amount of treatment that's dispensed. Because in reality, we see our patients in 4-week cycles. So usually if you see your patient today on a Wednesday, you'll give them another date in 4 weeks on another Wednesday. And that will equate one dispensing cycle. So you can imagine over a calendar year of 12 months, we might easily end up having 13 dispensing cycles. So when we look at monitoring, the way that we decide what we're going to monitor when is being done in such a way to reduce the number of clinic visits and to synchronize those visits as much as possible. So the only actual monitoring we have to do in terms of adverse event from a blood point of view is our creatinine for our patients on tenofovir. We've obviously had our baseline creatinine. We will do another one at the 3 months when we take that viral load at 3 months. And then you'll see the next creatinine is at 10 months, which is aligning with our viral load monitoring, and then annually also aligned with the viral load. So as long as the viral load is suppressed, we'll be doing it with each of those viral load visits. In the guidelines, they still talk about lopinavir, ritonavir, and AZT, but actually you will not be seeing these patients in your facilities. And the kinds of patients who qualify or need PIs or AZT will probably be under specialist care. So CD4 monitoring is one of those where we can see that the frequency depends on our other bloods that we are also doing. So the principle is if the CD4 is under 200, then we're going to do that CD4 every 6 months until the CD4 count is over 200, and then we don't have to do it ever again and save us a bit of money. But you will see, to make things easier, when we've initiated our patient, we're going to do our CD4 female 4 monitoring at the 10-month visit to also align with when we take that viral load. And then after that, if your CD4 is over 200 or under 200, you'll continue to do it every 6 months. And again, try and align it as much as possible, for example, with the patient's return visits, so we don't end up having extra visits just for that blood tests. If the viral load is over 1,000, then we also need to keep an eye on that CD4, and we will do the CD4 again every 6 months until we see that viral load has been less than 1,000. And of course, if your patient suddenly develops a new clinical condition, then we want to do that CD4 at that point as well. The other place where a CD4 is indicated is if your patient has missed more than 3 months of treatment and returned to care, and then another CD4 is indicated at baseline at that point. So when we talk about viral monitoring, people sometimes get confused because the Department of Health has created a very nice sort of very prescribed visits on when you're going to do what to make it as easy as possible for the patients. And then people get a bit muddled on when are we doing the viral loads. In principle, what we are trying to achieve is to have a viral load at 3 months, then have a viral load around the 1 year on treatment mark, and then to have it annually. But to make it easier for the patient, we can actually do that 1 year viral load anytime for 10 months onward. So you'll see the recommendation is that at 3 months, we're going to do that first viral load. Then after anywhere between 10 and 12 months, you're going to do your 12-month viral load. And then somewhere between 22 and 24 months, and again, we're talking about dispensing cycles, you're going to do the so-called 24-month viral load, and then every 12 dispensing cycles after that. And this is, of course, as long as your viral load stays suppressed. So let's just see what that looks like in practice. So in practice, if your ART initiation is here on day 1, after 1 dispensing cycle, so 4 weeks later, we're having a follow-up visit to see how our patient is doing. Patient no side effects, etc. We can now give them 2 months of treatment, and we're going to give them 2 months of treatment in one packet. So that's 2 dispensing cycles. And now we're seeing them at the 3-month visit. At the 3-month visit, we do our 3-month viral load, and we ask them to come back at the end of month 4 to actually look at that viral load result and to make sure everything is nicely on board. So this is where it becomes interesting, because at the 4-month visit, if the patient is viral load suppressed, we want to put them onto one of our 6-month prescribing cycles. So the idea is that you already then prescribe the patient 6 months of treatment, and we'll talk later about differentiated models of care on how they're going to be dispensed, but the patient will not need to see anybody now until month 10. When they come back in month 10, we will take the next viral load. And interestingly, you won't bring them back for that viral load result. You're going to keep an eye on it yourself and call them if that viral load is over 50. But otherwise, at this 10-month visit, we want to give them another 6-month prescription. And then you can imagine at 16 months, they'll get the next 6 months prescription. And then at 22 months, we'll do their 22-month or their 2-year annual viral load. And so what's happening is we are minimizing the visits of our patients to our facility.